Okay, here's a little demo of a system I've been working on and layered on top of the Tana platform. I'm going to show making a knowledge base of the tool. So let's call it Tana aggregation and exploration tool. And we're going to make this into an aggregate that's going to be able to consolidate facts that exist as children. So if we open it up, there's no consolidation yet. So what we're going to do is let's just start talking about it a little bit. So what the tool does is it lets you organize a hierarchy of knowledge into nodes that can aggregate everything that's their descendants into a field called consolidation on the aggregate node. Another major feature is the ability to mark nodes as exploration rather than aggregate. An exploration node will connect back to its most recent descendant, which is a aggregate, and it will be an exploration of that aggregate node. So we can stop there and let's see what the consolidation looks like for that so far. There's not that much information yet, so it's a little bit silly to make a consolidation of it. But here it's already identified the two different types of nodes. So now we've got our information here nested under our topic. I want to add a little more information about Tana because I think it may or may not understand what Tana is and how it works. So let's add a node for what Tana is and how it works. Let's just start out with some transcription. So Tana is a platform that is structured very much like Notion. It's a hierarchy of automation via command nodes and nested command nodes. Let's consolidate. That's not going to be much there. But then now let's explore. So we want to fill out this topic of what Tana is and how it works. So we're going to have the system generate some questions basically about the topic that aren't covered by what we have already. So this one seems good, comparing Tana to Notion. Yeah, this is looking into command nodes. This one I don't like as much because this is a little speculative and it's not going to be as objective. So let's get a few more. Sure. No, that's a little speculative and subjective. I guess. Okay, so now we can start to expand these. So this is going to take a little bit of time. What it's doing basically is it's making an API request to Perplexity and passing in the context of this aggregated topic and the knowledge contained within, and also the question, and then Perplexity gives back some results. It does take a little bit of time to do that because Perplexity API is not super fast because it's actually doing searches and actual research. But we have back the results here, even a little table, which is nice. And I'm going to skip this one just for time. But yeah, the idea is that we're kind of taking our incomplete knowledge base and using the system to find potential ways to fill it out. And then again, using the system to actually fill those out. So we're being the human in the loop here to kind of validate these different directions of research and then to trigger them to actually get researched. So now we can do a consolidation again. So before it was kind of just restating these first couple bullet points. So let's see if there's more useful information about Tana now. And I usually don't really look through all the information that's generated in the consolidations. Because there's a balancing act of like reading everything versus being nimble. Okay, so now let's go back and consolidate this. So yeah, there's obviously a lot more information now. See, it's interesting because it's taking all the information about what Tana is and how it works, and it's merging it together with like the specific information about how my system works. But the result is that it has all this extra information about Tana, and I actually don't really know that I want that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to narrow it a bit. So I'm going to make, yeah, this is going to be a little interesting. I'm going to take my, my features here. So features, and then let's put aggregate on that. And then let's put these guys underneath there. And then we can do a consolidation here. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this inside and then ask some questions that can extract out some of that broader information into something that's more useful for this topic. So, what elements to my tool? Okay, so this is, let's compare that to the overall thing. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a lot more information, but I think this is still too much. So let's say, what are the critical feature, or what are the few Tana features critical to understanding my tool? Let's try that. And ultimately, I think I'm gonna explore having different options here. So like right now I just have expand, like a knowledge expansion kind of thing. But ideally I wanna have, you know, like a narrowing kind of thing. Okay, moving that outside, and then let's try to do this consolidation again. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. See, this is more reasonable now. There's still a lot, but it's, you know, it's more focused on what we're doing here. So that seems better. It's not just a bunch of information about the app overall. So we have a nice little knowledge base here for our tool features. Well, okay, first, yeah, let's have it explore so you can ask some questions, and we might actually answer these questions ourselves. So this is a little general. Actually, these are not bad because these are asking like very situational questions. You know, I think that's a good way to flesh out how our system works. And I don't want to spend too much time, but from here I would jump into each one of these and do like a voice dictation of just talking about it for a while. And then I might turn that into a aggregate node if there's enough, or if I want to like expand it with some research. or I might just leave it as human generated responses. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit while I do this real quick. More knowledge to the overall knowledge base, non-destructive way, so that if you want to go back and change something, they provide flexibility for branching out because exploration nodes are always direct children of some. The key with super tags is that they're a very lightweight way to identify structure in an otherwise arbitrarily structured knowledge base. Okay, so I filled these out, and in case you're curious what I put, I'm just gonna slowly scroll there a little bit in case you want to pause it. But yeah, let's go back up to the top level node here, and let's do a consolidation. So yeah, let's see what it came up with here. So it has some stuff about just the hierarchy, aggregate or exploration. Mentions that they kind of roll up a lot. Mentions non-destructive apertures. Talks a little about exploration nodes in particular. It says about how we use super tags and why. I mean, this is a little bit filler. I mean, it's kind of just, it doesn't really need to be there, but it also doesn't really hurt. Um, my thinking with this kind of stuff is that it's a consolidation of a bunch of knowledge, and it's okay if there's like 20% too much. There's a little bit extra that we don't really need there. Is it worth fussing over all that? Not, I don't think so. Like, I think it's just good to make sure that what you need is there, and then move on. And also another reason why I don't want to fuss over exactly what's here or not is because I'll probably regenerate it. If I see something here I don't like, I'm more likely to go in and um, indirectly affect it by adding more questions or removing things or something like that from the sources, from the structure, and then to indirectly influence the consolidation, um, or at least that's the thinking. Uh, and yeah, it talks a little bit of abstract stuff around knowledge graph and linking. Um, some reasons why Tana is useful for this. And then it kind of ties it all together a little bit here. Um, this is pretty good. It doesn't talk a lot about like what the potential of the system is. And I could add more questions to that effect, or I could try grouping this together differently so that there's like stuff about like structural capabilities in one aggregate, and then like more, um, high level goals, vision type stuff in another. Doing that, I'd mostly just be moving, grouping these nodes in different ways and moving them to different structures and such. And I don't know, I think this is pretty promising. I'm looking forward to building different command buttons for doing different things. Like I mentioned, a different type of sort of a narrowing kind of thing where you're taking everything and trying to narrow it down to um, some focus, and that would be something that probably doesn't require perplexity, and that would also mean it's faster. Maybe a different tag besides exploration. I'm not sure. I kind of like the general um, applicability of a more broad tag like exploration, because then I can put a bunch of commands in there and then just kind of pick and choose which one I want to apply depending on what I'm trying to do, what the question is, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, so I hope you found this interesting and not completely confusing. I think it's pretty neat that this ends up with an aggregate node that has a consolidation, and then you can use this for other things like, I'll probably want to hook this up to a AI chat kind of thing. Eventually, I'd like to figure out how to like export this stuff to some system that can serve up a model context protocol API. But yeah, let me know what you think. Hopefully, I'll be publishing this as a template that other people can try to use once I get it cleaned up a little bit more. There's a few hacks that I'd like to tie up. Yeah, thanks for watching.